I'm 89 years old, and most days now are quiet enough that I can hear my own breathing. That wasn't always the case. There used to be noise everywhere, phones ringing, doors opening and closing, people asking things from me, people needing me. And yet, I have felt alone for as long as I can remember. Not the kind of alone where there is nobody around you. The other kind. The quieter kind. The kind where you're surrounded by people, but you don't feel seen. It took me almost 9 decades to understand why. I'm not telling this because I expect anything to change. I don't have that illusion anymore. I'm telling it because I don't have much time left, and I don't want to carry this understanding with me into the ground without letting it exist somewhere else first. Most mornings I sit in the same chair by the window. The cushion is flattened. The armrests are worn smooth. I know the shape of this chair better than I know the shape of my own hands. Outside, a few people walk their dogs. A couple across the street leaves for work at the same time every day. I don't know their names. They don't know mine. That's how most things are now. Some days I don't speak out loud at all. It isn't painful in a sharp way. It's heavy in a dull way, like carrying a weight you forgot was there. When you're young, you think loneliness comes from being rejected. You think it comes from people leaving. You think it comes from bad luck. I thought all of that too. But loneliness, at least the kind that followed me, came from something much quieter. It came from how I lived. I grew up in a house where nobody talked about feelings. You worked, you paid your bills, you didn't complain, you didn't ask for much. If something hurt, you swallowed it. My father woke up early. My mother kept things running. They weren't cruel. They weren't warm either. Affection wasn't something we practiced. I learned very early that being useful mattered more than being open. So I became useful. I did well in school. I followed instructions. I stayed out of trouble. Teachers liked me because I was reliable. Adults trusted me because I didn't cause problems. Inside, I don't remember feeling sad exactly. I remember feeling unnoticed, not ignored, just not truly seen. But I told myself that was normal. I told myself everyone felt that way. When I was in my 20s, I got a steady job. It wasn't glamorous. It paid the bills. That mattered to me. I met a woman. She was kind. She laughed easily. She asked questions. On our early dates, she would ask me what I was thinking. I usually said, "Nothing much." That was only partly true. The truth was, I didn't know how to explain what I was thinking. I didn't have language for it. And I didn't think it mattered anyway. We married. We built a life that looked solid from the outside. House, bills, routine. People said we were doing well. I believed them. She tried to talk to me. Not in an aggressive way, not in a dramatic way. Small attempts. "How are you really doing? You seem distant lately. Did I upset you?" I almost always said, "I'm fine," because I thought I was. Or maybe because I didn't know what not fine felt like. Looking back, I can see the pattern. She would reach, I would nod, she would wait, I would go to work. It didn't feel like abandonment at the time. It felt like normal adulthood. Work was demanding. Raising children was exhausting. Life felt busy and serious. There wasn't much space for sitting around talking about feelings. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Years passed like that. Not in dramatic leaps, in ordinary Tuesdays, in tired evenings, in half-listening conversations. I was physically present. I paid for things. I fixed broken appliances. I showed up. I thought that was love. And maybe in a limited way it was. But love also needs something else. Something I didn't know how to give. Presence. Not physical presence. Emotional presence. I didn't know I was withholding it. I didn't wake up thinking, "I will keep my distance today." It was simply my default. If something felt uncomfortable, I retreated inward. If a conversation started to feel heavy, I changed the subject. If someone cried, I froze. Not because I didn't care, because I didn't know what to do with it. My wife slowly stopped asking deep questions. Not suddenly, not angrily, just gradually. We talked about logistics, schedules, groceries, kids, weather. It was calm, it was polite, it was empty. At the time, I told myself we were a stable couple. No fighting, no screaming, no chaos. I thought chaos was the enemy. I didn't realize silence can be worse. Our children grew up. They had personalities I admired but didn't fully understand. They came to me less and less with their problems. They went to their mother. I noticed. I didn't ask why. Part of me felt relieved. Another part felt something I didn't have a word for. I filled my days with work. Work gave me structure. Work gave me an identity. At work, people needed me. They asked questions. They valued my reliability. It felt good to be needed. At home, I was less certain what my role was. So I leaned harder into the place where I felt competent. That choice didn't feel like a betrayal. It felt responsible. Years went by. My wife and I became roommates. We were kind to each other. We were respectful. We were distant. There were moments when I sensed something was wrong. Late at night, when she would sigh, when she lingered in doorways, when she asked, "Do you still love me?" I always said yes. I meant it. But I didn't say much else. I didn't know how to express love beyond staying. I thought staying was enough. I didn't realize you can stay and still be absent. One evening, many years later, she told me she felt lonely, not angry, not accusing, just tired. She said, "I don't think you really know me." I remember nodding. I remember saying, "I'm sorry you feel that way." Even as I said it, I didn't fully grasp what she meant. I thought she wanted reassurance. So I reassured. I didn't ask questions. I didn't ask her to explain. I didn't tell her my own fears. I went to bed. That night didn't feel dramatic. No shouting, no ultimatums. Just another quiet evening. But something shifted. She became more inward after that. So did I. Eventually she got sick, not suddenly, slowly. Doctor visits, medications, fatigue. I went with her to appointments. I sat in waiting rooms. I drove. I handled logistics. I was good at logistics. When she was lying in bed, weak, she reached for my hand sometimes. I held it. We didn't talk much. I didn't know what to say. I thought my presence was enough. She died on a quiet morning. I was sitting in the room. I noticed her breathing change. Then stop. There was no speech, no final confession, no dramatic last words, just stillness. After the nurses left, I sat there for a long time. I remember thinking something strange. I wish I had asked her more questions. Not in a grand, sweeping way, in a simple way. What did she fear? What did she hope for? What did she feel about our life? I had spent decades beside her. I realized I knew very little about her inner world, and she probably knew very little about mine. That realization didn't arrive like lightning. It arrived like fog, slow, disorienting. I went back to an empty house. The quiet felt different than before. Before, it had felt normal. Now, it felt final. Our children visited. They were kind. They checked in. They had their own lives. I didn't resent that. I understood it. I had built my own life around being busy once, too. They called less often over time, not because they didn't care, because that's how life works. I don't blame them. But I noticed something painful. They didn't come to me to talk about their struggles. They updated me. They didn't confide in me. I realized I had never shown them how. I had taught them, without meaning to, that I was safe for practical matters, not emotional ones. After my wife died, memories started rearranging themselves. Moments I had dismissed as small now looked different. The times she tried to talk late at night, the way she watched me when I was distracted, the pauses in her sentences. She had been reaching. I had been busy, not busy in a productive way, busy in an avoidant way. I began to understand something painful. I had always felt alone because I never truly let anyone close. Not fully, not honestly. I stayed on the surface of my own life. I thought distance was safety. I thought self-reliance was strength. I thought needing less meant suffering less. What I didn't understand was that you can numb pain and numb connection at the same time. You don't get to choose only one. So I moved through decades partially numb, not miserable, not joyful, just muted. I see now that I confused calm with contentment. They are not the same thing. Calm can be empty. Silence can be hollow. By the time I realized this, most of the people who could have known the real me were gone. My parents died years ago. My wife is gone. Some old friends are gone. Others drifted away. Not because of arguments, because of distance. The quiet kind. The kind that grows unnoticed. Now I sit in this chair and think about how strange it is. I spent my whole life trying not to be a burden, trying not to need too much, trying not to make things complicated, and I ended up very uncomplicated, also very alone. I don't say that with bitterness. I don't say it with self-pity. It feels more like recognition, like finally understanding the shape of a shadow I've been living inside. If you are listening to this and you're younger than me, I don't know your life. I don't know your responsibilities. I don't know your fears. I know mine, and I know what they cost me. I thought people would always be there, not in a literal sense, in a vague sense. I thought relationships were stable by default. I didn't understand they require active presence, not grand gestures, not constant intensity, just honest participation, saying what you actually feel, asking questions even when you're tired, letting someone see the parts of you that feel unfinished. I avoided that because I didn't want to look weak. Now I understand something uncomfortable. Distance doesn't make you strong. It just makes you alone. I wish I had said more simple things. I'm scared. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel disconnected. I need you. Those sentences were always available. I just never reached for them. I don't expect anyone to suddenly transform their life after hearing this. That wouldn't feel realistic. Life is heavy. People are tired. I understand that. All I can offer is a small truth. Loneliness doesn't always come from being rejected. Sometimes it comes from never fully arriving, never fully showing up, never fully stepping into your own emotional life. If you recognize yourself in any of this, I hope you don't wait as long as I did to be curious about it. Not urgent, not frantic, just curious. About yourself, about the people who sit next to you, about what goes unspoken. I have limited time left. I feel that in my body, in my energy, in how quickly days blur together. I can't undo my life. I don't get a second version. I don't get to try again. I sit with that, some days peacefully, some days heavily. Both are honest. If this meant something to you, you're welcome to sit with it quietly. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to fix anything. Just notice. That's enough. I'm 89 years old. I finally understand why I always felt alone. I built a life where I never fully let anyone in. And now, as my time narrows, I live inside the shape of that choice. Not with anger, not with drama, just with awareness. That's all I have left to offer.